Greetings once again, this is Stan Houston, and I come your way from What It Takes, and in conjunction with our partnership with EdCast. And I have been given the honor, sometimes I wonder if I can live up to that honor, of being called a bit of an influencer, and so part of that is putting together a few things which they call insights. And wow, is it really insightful, or is it just simply some information, or is it even less than that, something that just is a bloviating thing that I have in mind at the moment? But I trust that it will be insightful and helpful. As we say, what it takes, wit, is wisdom, insight, and hopefully garnered in great truth. Entertainment, education, put them together, and edutainment. That's the channel, and that's the avenue we're going down. Now, you'll see that we've already put a couple of new courses in, and it's based on this fundamental principle going forward, is don't look in the same places that everybody else is looking. I've oftentimes pointed out that part of the problem, particularly in a college or class or university curriculum, is we're looking at, quote, some settled stuff. Stuff that is kind of past the peer review and years of experience, and it gets put into textbooks and into curriculums. Well, with the rapid rate of change, oftentimes that becomes such settled stuff that we forget to look other places. So what I encourage people to do, both in terms of entertainment, in terms of education, in terms of enterprise, mix them up and see where it leads you. And that's why one of the classes is what you can learn about branding and business and even education from the Beatles. Go to an entertainment, go to a business, and if you talk about people who changed things, and if the goal of education is to change things, the Beatles changed things. Now, go to the class and do three things. First of all, I hope you just simply will enjoy learning something you didn't know. Secondly, it is framed in you can learn about business and how to communicate the unique qualities of your business by learning from the Beatles. And then, as an educator, as a communicator, what can you learn about your work, which is not only a business, but a significant business that matters. As I point out, civilization only survives in its best and less brutal qualities when one generation takes the time to educate and care for and mentor and maybe discipline, which means to disciple and teach the next generation. And that's what we're all about. It is a noble calling, and I hope sometimes we keep looking at it that way. Not just a job, it is a calling, something that is very vital to what we need to do. So please look at that, and then, as I've said before, now I want you to also take the course in radio, how to use and be a radio broadcaster. Now, somebody objected to the fact that I'm putting together a class now called How to Be a Radio Disc Jockey. I don't want to be a disc jockey. And I tried to point out to them that may be something I have to modify, but the idea is that years ago we said if you want to be successful, you have to learn how to read and write. Then we discovered, well, it would be good that you not only were able to write well, and so let's make sure we have that down, but then how to speak well. And now we're going to have to teach people and teach by example that we have to learn to use the all-pervasive modern media, the social media, the internet media that is all around us. And of course, that's what It Takes and EdCast is all about. And we're going to use that media for small bits of micro learning, because that may be how it takes place in the modern era. And I've oftentimes said that we're not just going to call it the social media, because that's how it began. Find a date, find a friend. But now it's become much, much more a profound performance media. In fact, I say now the social media is really the modern performance media. And today I'd like to talk a little bit about that idea of performance. Many years ago, my uncle, who was a renowned classical organist, told me that he had gone to and was going to Northwestern University to get his doctorate degree. And I said, "Oh, you're going to get a PhD." And he said, "Well, no, it's not a PhD." And I said, "Well, but you said you're going to get a doctorate." He said, "It won't be a PhD. It'll be a different kind of doctorate." And I said, "Well, what's that?" And he said, "Well, I have all of the same work. I even have the language requirements that I have to do, and I have to do research and take classes and courses, but it's not a research degree, and that a PhD is primarily a research degree." And he said, "This is a performance degree. I'm going to be evaluated not only on what I know, but how I teach what I know, and then I have to get in the organ, on several organs, and I have to perform." You know, I'm beginning to think that perhaps we ought to say that all of our degrees are essentially performance degrees. What the world needs now are teachers who are communicators, who are leaders. Teachers, communicators who are leaders, and leaders help change things. And that often takes place not because somebody knew something, it's because somebody caught something from a performance. Now, of course, we do have to perform. We have to do the research and go through the obstacles of putting that paper together, that dissertation together, and then there is that real dilemma called the orals. But what if we would say, going forward, is your education, the things you've learned, fine, there may be a research component, but what we really want to see is, can you really teach it well? Can you perform it well? The education that you have does not just reside in you or in a library, but it has to be out there and performed. The old joke is, well, how many copies of your dissertation got sold? Well, we usually can't even sell our dissertation. We can't get it published. What if we actually began to say, as part of your degree is not just that you published a book, but somebody bought it. It's not only that you actually have that information, you can go in front of an audience and you can communicate it and teach it well. You can use the modern performance media in such a way. And people are looking for entertainment in that media because that's how it works. They don't want you to be boring. They don't want you to be somebody who puts them to sleep. In fact, you're going to be evaluated not just on what you know and whether you publish, you're going to be evaluated on how well you perform what you know for the benefit of others. And it truly is a gig economy. No job security, no nothing. You just simply have the opportunity as you perform at your very best. Well, I've got a few of you upset now, but it's simply meant as a loving challenge to me and to all of us that in the modern day world of enterprise, and education is a business, it's an enterprise, in education, which is pervasive and vital to the maintenance of society, and it's all in a context of a world that thrives on entertainment. And in the midst of all this, there is the ether of the internet. How do you put those all together? Well, that's part of what we're all about here, and hopefully some of these ideas would be maybe an encouragement to you, maybe a challenge to you, maybe it kind of ticked you off, but I'd love to hear from you because that's how it really goes and grows. It's when people conversation it out. Let's not dialogue, let's talk about it. Let's maybe even fight about it. Let's be challenged by one another. I'm Stan Houston for What It Takes and for EdCast, and I thank you for your time and I wish you all the best.